let's record this. All right, so here's a utility knife. I have put this in the canvas, and this was the inspiration for this project. So I've opened up Fusion 360, and you're going to see we're essentially going to bring in the utility knife, and we're going to create a shape and a form that resembles this. And I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so what we did was where we left off, I had brought the sketches in, and so we brought those in. I came in and I had to rescale them. Let me just show you one because I did have to rescale. I noticed there was one. So when I'm in Fusion 360, you're going to notice there's this cube that's there. You're also going to notice the grid here. This is where I have everything, all my folders. It's a cloud-based software. So if you're on a tablet or a Chromebook or Mac, it's all the same interface because you do have to download some things onto your computer, but everything's saved on the cloud. All right, so let's just minimize this. And so here was I brought in some into the canvases. I imported them in through this insert. And I imported them in, and then I had to scale them. I realized that I didn't scale one of them properly. It was the top view, and so the way that I did that again, so I'm using the cube and the arrows up here. So I also relabeled it. So this one I had to calibrate, and I noticed I hadn't calibrated it properly. So this was supposed to be, so it's 6 inches is what I want, right? And then what I also did is once I did that, I edited it. That let me move this around this object, right? So here's my 0, 0. I'm going to build it so the top view is going to be there. I can move it anywhere, but that's where I want to build my object. So from the front view, there it is. There, if you notice, this is what we're calling our 0, 0. So that's the Cartesian coordinate, X, Y, and Z. I've got it on my right view. So this is the way that designers typically work. So you do a lot of drawing, but then you want to model it. And so what designers will do is they'll take their concept sketches, they'll refine them to side view, top view, front view, even if it's organic, just so they have a sense of proportion. My experience working in the computer modeling is you very quickly lose, after you're in the computer, for me personally, after a couple hours, I lose, and so for example, let's just say that I'm working for, let me think of a good company, whatever company X, they're paying me to design this product. I put it in the computer. I will spend literally months on a project detailing it out because I'm making parts then that are going to go to a machine, and I lose all sense of design, aesthetics, proportion. So I really have to rely on these initial concept sketches. And so here it is. I brought it in here. Now what I need to do is I want to model this. So old school, if you use AutoCAD, or you would kind of do an outline of this project and then you'd kind of extrude it. But it's very limited because it's very hard to do sculptural kind of organic shapes. So if you look on the menu on Fusion 360, you'll see this design, and there's generative. What we're going to do today is design and render. If we don't get it all done today, we'll do it the next session. So I want to model this. And so what I'm going to do is, let's just kind of go through here. Generally, what they want you to do is work from left to right. All right. So let's go back to design. I'm not going to use this body. So I'm going to create, and I want to create. I'm going to go to the solid, and I'm going to go ahead and create. Let's see here. And I may refer back to. So I want to go here to create form. And if you look at the logo, it's kind of like a cube that's a little squashed. So I'm going to click this, and it's going to give me this box. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my right view here, and I'm going to select the box. And then first thing I need to do is select a plane. This is very common in 3D modeling software. They want you to define where to put it. So I'm going to select the plane. This is where it's going to go. And then you'll notice the box, it's got 2 points, center, out. we're going to do the 2-point. We're going to be creating a new body. That's what happens over here. And then we're going to do this thing called symmetric. So it's not just one side. Whatever I do on one side will go to the other. And so, so what I'll do then is I'll go ahead and just select a point here. I'm going to select like up here. And then I'll select down here. And then let's look at it in 3D while I'm doing this. So you're going to notice there's like this 3D shape. And so really what we want to do is if I'm looking here, I need these lines because, for example, if I had 2 here, you're going to see that I'm going to have less to work with. And I need kind of these lines. So I'm gonna the width here, I'm going to say 4. It just gives me more vectors to work with. All right, so there it is. All right, so there's this overall shape. And so here's where it gets kind of cool. So I need to rotate this to look more like the shape. And so what I can do is I can actually just grab this, zoom in here, or just grab this line. Let's just grab this whole front end, right click on here and say edit form. And so this is the same menu you're going to see all over the place. And I can do things like rotate it. And I can grab this square and I can move it, right? So if you notice, I'm kind of, you have to be careful that you don't fold it in, because if you do things like that, you break it, it just won't, it'll give you an error message. So you have to be careful you don't fold things in. I'm just going to do a very quick, this is kind of free forming here. I can move things around, and so you know you have to be careful, but you have a lot of control here. So I notice that this is getting a little weird here, so I might just grab this whole thing and just rotate a little bit. There's things you can do like that. Move this up a little bit. Let's go to the back end, and again I'm going to go rather quickly just to give you all the concepts, and then I'm going to want you to work on this. So let's just take this. I can move these lines. Let's move it down. Maybe I would rotate a little bit. Actually, I'm going to rotate it like that. But then you're going to notice, well, so here I am. I'm kind of stuck because I've got this built here, but I need something here. So what I can do is I can right click here on this line. And if you look on the 3D, it actually has gone all the way around, because when I designed it, I told it to do it symmetrical. So whatever I'm doing on one side goes to the other. And then what I can do is go to modify, and I'm going to say insert edge. And so watch what happens, insert edge. It'll, depending on which side I want to go to, I can put a whole nother line of splines or vectors. This is exactly what Illustrator was doing. There's really no difference except we're working in 3-dimensional. So that looks good. And so insertion, I don't think so if I did both there, go opposite side, it's basically giving me coordinates here. There's a lot I can work with. I'm just going to say okay. But so then what I can do is I can start to manipulate this a little bit more. So now I've got this down here. This is going to work for me. I can right click and say edit form, and just basically doing the same thing I was before. Maybe move it over. Now this is kind of weird here. So now I can edit this. You know, I can start to make this a little bit closer to what I'm trying to do here. And so you can spend a lot of time, if you're not careful, in this phase of just fine tuning it. But you know what I'm trying to demonstrate for you is just how easy it is to make shapes that are organic, that if you're working with a CAD, even a SolidWorks or something like that, it would just be really hard. So it is always very helpful to kind of look 3-dimensionally as I go, just to make sure that I'm not, because once it's very hard. If I would do something on one side, it wouldn't necessarily go back to the other side. So let's clean this up a little bit. And then I'm going to ask one of our participants in this class to give me a hand on some things so I can fine tune this. And so what I'm doing is I'm using my drawing in the background as my guide here. And that's kind of the important part here. So this will help me because then I can either grab the entire line and rotate it around. You just have to work and play with it. You can add more of these splines if you needed to. For example, again, if I needed another one here, I would go to modify, and I would say insert edge, and there gives me another line. If I needed a little bit more detail, I might do that. And then I don't really think that was necessary, but you get the idea. So that is all I really want to do right now. The other thing that we're going to learn how to do is do rendering. So for example, let's just say I'm going to add some other things like buttons and knives and the blade. But just real quickly, I finish the form here and I turn the canvases off, and I have two bodies. Let me turn that first body off. So I've got this body here. There's a couple things that I can do that are really neat. So for example, what I'd like to see you do is I'm going to insert a logo onto this. And so the way you do that in color is I'll say insert decal. And this is actually kind of pretty cool. So I'll go for my computer here. So bear with me for one moment. I'm going to go to my DVC folder, and I'm going to grab my logo out of my 120 class, and I'm going to put my logo, which I'd like you to do that also. So you're going to grab your logo, and come on, hard drive, catch up. And so let's go into my folder, wherever you have your logo. Sorry, class projects, logo. All right, so I'm going to grab, I'm not sure if I should grab my PNG or JPEG as the white background. Let's just try the PNG, and it wants to know where I'm going to put it, so let's put it right there. And so there is my logo. All right, so I can reposition this. Let's look at it in 3D. So you can see how you can take graphics and seamlessly put them on this product. Pretty cool stuff. All right. And so let's just say I'm happy with it. Then let's just say I'm all done, and I really want to kind of take a look at this. I'm going to go from design to render. All right. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is when you're done with this project, I want you to render it. So when you render it, you can then add certain kind of materials. You can change the color, the appearance. Let's just say I want this to be metal. Let's say I want it to be chrome. Sometimes you have to wait for it to load, but let's go to Chrome, and there's my Chrome. And what you do is you basically just drag it onto the object itself. All right, it didn't like that on my logo. That's okay. You've got all sorts of things you can do, different sort of metals and plastics, and you name it, it's there. The other thing that we can do is put it in an environment. And so far I'm doing okay, so Sally doesn't have to come to my rescue, but be ready to help me. All right, so close, that looks good. Let's go into we already have I can add textures on here. So let's put this in an environment. So you go to the environment library and you can actually load them in. And so what's really cool here is let's do like a studio. We don't really want to do a plaza. Let's do like a, I don't know why I'd want to put this on a lake bed. Let me see if there's a good, they have studio places here. So let's just put it on this. Let's see if that worked here. Let's do that again. So, you would typically for the environment library, if you did a chair, right, there's a lot of different things you want to do. So let's go ahead and put on a dry lake bed just for fun. Okay, so what you do is you download it, takes a minute. You can also make your own. I've never done that, but I think you need a 3D camera. And all right. Okay, all right, so if I want to turn on anything, I have to go in these environments. I have to go to the settings, and I want to change the background from solid to environment. And then it'll start to make sense. So let's go back here. I selected the dry lake bed. And so what the cool thing is, when you make it in 3D, you're going to see that environment. So let's just say, for example, we did a plaza. I don't know why we do a plaza on this thing. These are more for like bigger products like a car, but then I drag and drop that back here. Let me download first. There's a Plaza, and you can do certain things. And then what you do then is you can make renderings. So then what you do before you go and you would render it. So then I'd go to render. I do not recommend that you do the cloud unless you're, I typically do local. That's just to my hard drive. The cloud-based is really when you have a lot to do. I think you also have to pay for it. So I just set it up to local. You know, I can do standard. These take a little bit of time, but nothing outrageous. And then it will render it and create a, and if you look on the bottom, I think it is done. So then it's going to be a rendered image. Okay, so there it is. So I did that weird water thing. Why I did water, I don't know, but you can see it in there. So it's rendering. It says processing the rendering. So I can always stop that. I probably want to zoom in a little bit, but let's see here. Okay, so there it is. So let's just zoom in a little bit because I think I'm a little too far out. So the other thing is you can also, you want to download it. And so what I want you to do with your utility knife is find a folder for it. And then you're going to, that's what you're going to upload. So realistically, I'm going to spend more time on this. I'm going to zoom in. I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time. I had a logo on there. I should have put it back on there. And I don't really like the, so here I tried it out. The water is kind of weird. So let's change it from water to back to some sort of metal. Let's do, chrome might work. Gold was kind of cool. And so there's the gold. I don't know what happened to my logo. Let's put my logo back in here so I can also add the logo. Looks like here. So for my computer, let's add my PNG. And there it is. I'd rotate it around. So I'm going to ask you to put your logo on your product here. And so let's see, horizontal, you've got a lot of control here, all right? And so then what I would do is, and I'll spend a little bit more time, we can play with the knife, the blade a little bit, but let's go ahead and render this again. So local rendering, I can try the standard. Let's go ahead and, let's go to print. Actually, print is probably what I want. Standard, and then I'll go ahead and render it. And it's going to create another one down here, or it should. And so, you know, this is typically what you do. The funny thing is rendering, when I started rendering, I don't want to date myself, but I was working for a furniture designer. We would, at the end of the day, after we spent all our time modeling and finding what we like, we'd hit render, we'd leave, we'd go to home, we'd go to bed, we'd eat, well, not in that order, and we'd come back to work, and the rendering 8.5 by 11 at 100 or 72, whatever it was, DPI, would just be finishing. It is, you never have enough horsepower or RAM, so you're always feeling like, come on, render. That's why you will see sometimes when you do the render, they do it on cloud or they do it on a network. So it's really the math coprocessor that it's calculating every shadow, every light, the source. If you have multiple shadows, I don't think we have them turned on. We'll play around with the shadows and all those things later, but for now, what I want you to do is make this utility knife, render it. It automatically saves, but I'm going to want to save this as, if you haven't, your Fusion file, you want to save it as a name, because if you don't save it initially, it won't update, right? So it's going to save. So it's rendering right now. I can tell it's rendering. It'll be done shortly. So let me just get the rendering done, and then we will go back to the model and work on this a little bit here. So let's see where we are here. All right, so there it is. Okay, so a little better, cool environment. The only thing is now it looks like it's the size, you know, if this is a real Plaza, this is not a utility knife. It's more like a huge object. So it's rendering, it's going to take a while. So I probably should have done a little lower resolution because it's still in progress. But as soon as that's done, then I'm going to save it. I'm going to upload it to Canvas. All right. So let me stop this video.